All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Proven Guilty by Jim Butcher. This is book number 8 in his Dresden Files series of novels. I don't know how many there are. There's got to be at least 20 at this point, maybe 22. This is book number 8. I've been reading and reviewing these books in no particular order. I haven't done them in chronological order or anything. I'm just randomly kind of doing them. But anyway, this one came out in 2006. It's got a great cover. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. This has a great cover, which, you know, it's a... I don't know who this rock books, they never do mention who the artists are. I know I've looked up the artist before and left it in some of my other reviews. And by the way, if you want to watch some of my other reviews of Jim Butcher books, just go to your YouTube search bar, type in my last name, Durfee, type in Jim Butcher's name, and through some sort of pagan sorcery, those book reviews will magically appear upon your television screen. I promise you. Also, if you do that, me and Jim Butcher sat on a panel at Comic-Con where we talked about writing fantasy and stuff, and that video's out there also. Oh, and I've done book signings at Bard's Tower and a few other book signing places several times with Jim Butcher. In all that time, I've only ever got him to sign one of my books. It was this Aeronauts Windlass book, and he signed that for me. But anyway, enough about name dropping. Let's get to the, this opens with a good and bloody execution scene. Everybody likes that. At the hands of the White Council of Wardens. They execute one of their own for, breaking the mafia code or whatever it is. And our main character, Harry Dresden, is very upset by this. Now, Harry Dresden, if you don't know who he is, he's kind of a private investigator who investigates supernatural things in and about Chicago. You know, if there's werewolves and fairies or dragons or orcs or goblins or vampires, anything weird in Chicago, he'll investigate it. But he's part of this Council of Wizards. I want to read to you a couple of pages that I thought were pretty good at explaining what was going on in this book. And I apologize up front, I'm not good at reading out loud, so please bear with me. But this gives you a good idea of what's going on in the story. The war wasn't going well. There's a war between the wizards and vampires. The war wasn't going well, by which he meant the war of the White Council against the Red Court of Vampires. The war had been a whole lot of pussyfooting and fights in back alleys for several years, but last year the vampires had upped the ante. The Venatori Umborium and the Fellowship of St. Giles were the White Council's primary allies in the war with the Red Court. The Venatori were an ancient secret brotherhood joined together to fight supernatural darkness wherever they could, sort of like the Masons, only with more flamethrowers. The Fellowship, though, was a somewhat different story. Not as many of them as there were of the Venatori, but not many of them were merely human. Most of them, so I took it, were those who have been half-turned by the vampires. So we've got this big war going on between the wizards and the vampires. Harry Dresden is on the wizard side, and they're losing. And now the White Council of Druids has asked, they voluntold Harry to investigate rumors of black magic in and about Chicago. So that's what he does. And he recruits, of course, his friend Murphy the cop, who's been in a lot of the books. And before he can get too far into this investigation, though, he has a bit of a side quest with a girl named Molly, who is the tattooed teen goth punk daughter of one of his good friends. And this girl Molly has found herself in a bit of a pickle. along with her boyfriend, her troubled boyfriend, not very good boyfriend, is suspected in an assault that happened at a horror convention. Not horror convention, a horror, HORRER convention. A horror convention. He's suspected of an assault in the bathroom at a horror convention. And but Harry Dresden thinks that this assault wasn't really like, this was more of a supernatural event. This wasn't really just like a teen punk kid assaulting someone. Something else has happened. And so now Harry Dresden has these two quests. Figure out where the black magic is coming from in Chicago. Figure out what Molly and her boyfriend are involved in, these teenagers. And hovering over all of this is the big war between the wizards and vampires. And all of these things. Oh, and then he's got his faithful dog, Mouse, that follows him around, along with Bob the Talking Skull, who kind of gives him advice here and there. And that all boils to a head at the end, a big climax. This is one of the bigger Harry Dresden novels. This is about 600 pages. And I think that the longer... I think this is kind of like when the stories get longer and the page count gets more. I think this is where the Harry Dresden series really sort of takes off, really sort of like ups its ante, really gets better. You know, the first handful of books were a little shorter, maybe 400 pages each. But now he's getting into these 600-page novels, which I feel are just bang for the buck, just levels above the first ones. I really enjoyed everything about this book. From Harry Dresden's wit to Jim Butcher's writing style. It's an effortless writing style. I almost consider like these Harry Dresden books written so well and so effortlessly. They kind of like remind me of C.J. Box, who's a mystery writer that I really like. He writes the Joe Pickett series. And I always compared C.J. Box. I always call C.J. Box the Michael Jordan of mystery writers. Just everything he does is perfect and seems effortless. Jim Butcher's writing style in this is almost pinpoint perfect. There's no like wasted words. It seems like everything's there and it flows effortlessly. It's almost like stunning to kind of read how just as from a writer's perspective, this dude can write. That's all I got to say. So I'm going to give Proven Guilty. It's one of my favorite. It's just a great book. It's like bordering on a 10 out of 10. So that's what we'll do. We'll give this a score of a borderline 10.